Steve. Welcome back to my shop. This video is part 3 and the final video of my Sanford Model MG Surface Grinder cleanup and reassembly. In this video I finished putting it together, hook up the motor and make my first sparks. Actually, I checked the table, and I ground the table flat before mounting these magnetic chuck semi-permanently, and then I'll grind the chuck in. Also this week I picked up a spanner wrench for the arbors on the grinder. It has two spanner there. It's got two tips on the end, and it's got the socket that fits down in it to unbolt the arbor from the unit. So that's a nice addition. Also in this video I'm hooking up the cool mist system, and I got that adjusted, and I use the cool mist while I'm grinding in the table. So let's get started. When I got this grinder, it was missing the guard off of the stone, so I am going to make a CAD file and build a new guard for it. Okay, the mark that I made on the bottom of the file of the cardboard was the center of the grinding wheel, and then I made a mark at the bottom edge of the cardboard onto the wheel, and now I'll measure the difference. So I've got 1 inch up from the bottom. So that represents the center of the hub. So I'm going to cut it out now and make a pattern that I'll transfer to my sheet metal. Okay, my hub is 3 inches in diameter, so I'm going to give it about an extra 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to use my divider and score a mark on here. And cut that out. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to transfer that over to a piece of sheet metal and cut it out. I transferred the pattern over to this piece of 1/8 inch aluminum, and I'm going to cut it out with my scroll saw. Okay. Well, after a little bit of filing and tweaking, it's ready for paint. That should do the job. I'm going to run a cool mist system on here, and so I'm going to mount the block permanently on the guard. Just going to use a transfer punch. I'm going to drill and tap this pad for a 1032. Okay, now all I have to do is plumb it up with the air, and got one more project finished. I'll put some pipe sealant on those threads. It's a little bit loose. Decided to save you the pain and suffering of more cleaning. So I finished up the back, and now I'm ready to put the motor mount in. And I think I can wind this down far enough to pick up the screws. While I'm doing it, I'm going to run some oil through. That's as far as I can go. I'm going to put a block under that just to hold it up while I screw the bolts in. Okay, I'm going to raise it up as high as it'll go and just slightly snug this bolts. When I put the motor on it, I can drop it down to tension the belt. I ran the motor before I disassembled the whole grinder, so I know it runs well, and it's not too bad. It just needs to be wiped down a little bit, which I take and clean it up a little bit and see if I can find the belt for it. I have one of these link belts on it, which I'm not real thrilled with. I don't really care for them that much. They're a little noisy, and I'm afraid it might put a little vibration into it. So eventually I'm going to change it for a standard V-belt. I'll check and see if I have anything here. If not, I'm just put it together with that, and then I'll change it out later. In order to save some vibration, I've got some hard rubber washers that I'm going to use to isolate the motor from the bracket, and I'm going to put one of these on the top and the bottom between the motor and the base, and then I'm going to put another one on top. Okay, now I'll put another one with a flat washer and put the nut and a flat washer through it, so that the motor will be completely isolated from the base. I'll bring you back when the bolts are all snugged up. Okay, I wired it up temporarily just to turn it on, make sure that I've got everything hooked up right. Let's give it a try. Staying clear of the stone. Feels nice and smooth. I haven't balanced the stone yet. I've got to dress the stone first. And one of my first projects is actually going to be to build a balancer. But what I do want to do before I button this up is check the speed, because they're pretty critical about the top speed on these wheels. It's 3600, and based on the pulley sizes, I think I'm running a little faster than that. And the pulley on the motor is actually adjustable, so I may have to adjust the effective diameter down a little bit on it. So let me dig out my tachometer and we'll give it a try. I found a different pulley to fit the motor that is about the same diameter as this pulley, so that'll give me around 3,500, which is where I want to be. I'm going to have to get a little bit shorter belt. So until I get the new belt, see you later. I got the new belt on with the new pulleys, and the grinding wheel speed is now down to around 3,400, which I feel a lot more comfortable with. Maximum speed for the wheel was 3,600, and when I first ran it, it was running close to 4,500. So I'm down below the safe speed for the wheel now. This is my setup. I mapped out the table. I'm going to pre-grind the table, and I've got a tenths indicator set up on it. You can see it's reading approximately 5/10 right now, and as I go back, I'm down to 0. Oops, there's a few bumps in it. And back to 0 there. And as I come forward, I'm raising, coming up to 1/1000ths, and by the time I get to the opposite side of the table, I'm up to 2/1000ths. I've mapped it all out and marked it on the table. As I move to the other end, it stays about the same, the 2/1000ths. And then as I get up to this corner, it's a little high spot and it jumps up to 3. So my overall difference between the low and the high is 3/1000ths. It's a lot more than I feel comfortable with, so I'm going to grind the table in. But before I can do that, I've got to put my mag chuck on temporarily so that I can dress this stone. And then I'll take it off and grind the table. I've also gotten my cool mist all set up. I shortened the length of the tube on it so that it's a little bit closer to the wheel now, and I hope that'll work out. And I've adjusted the nozzle. I'm pretty comfortable with where it's at because I want to use the cool mist while I'm actually grinding the table. I'll come back when I'm ready to dress the stone. Okay, I've got my unit all set up to dress. Just take about 5/1000ths. This is a new freshly mounted wheel. I want to make sure that I'm hitting all the way around. About 2.5 thousandths off each time. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to take the mag chuck off and start making some sparks. This is pretty noisy, so I'm not going to do much filming here, especially when the compressor kicks in. I'm taking about 1/1000th at a time off. I'm up to about 3/1000ths, so I should be able to get almost all the way across. And then I'll do a final 5/10. Since it's just a roughing out, I'm doing about 100,000th step over. each grind. Compressor will be kicking on in a minute, so I'm going to be shutting off momentarily. There comes the compressor. I'm going to shut off the film now. This is my final pass. I'm taking 5/10 off and letting it spark out. As soon as I'm finished with this, I'll clean it off and put the dial indicator back on it. See how we made out. Stop back when I finish up. It's right on the money. That's 0 on both sides. Now when I move it, I put a little WD-40 on it to keep it from skipping around. End to end, oops, I went in the hole. I'm at 0 there. About 1/10. It jumps around a little bit as I move it, but I'm back at 0, and it's staying at 0. I'm at 0, 1/10, 2/10, back to 0. Oops, jumping around a little bit. Back to 0. Well, I feel like I've got it all within 2/10. So I'm going to call that a success. The finish isn't bad. I would like it to be just a little bit better. I think that part of that might have to do with the balance on the stone. I need to build a balancer for it. So at this point I'm going to mount the mag chuck on it, and following Stan Zinkowski's instructions, I'm going to paint this with a product called Steel It, which is like a stainless steel paint. And I'm going to put the chuck on it while it's still wet, and that should seal it up. So that's going to be the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and check me in my next video when I start to do some grinding projects.